Oh yes, legends. How is everybody doing? Hope you doing absolutely fantastic. You had a massive weekend. We'll be analyzing the situation here for Bitcoin because we're just sitting at support. We're sitting at a major crucial zone at the moment where I do believe so. We could be getting a bounce at the zone or maybe sweeping up the low of that major sell-off that we do have, guys. Let's take a look here at what is happening to the price of Bitcoin when I get the screen on, of course. That is the first thing that we need to do eventually. What's going on, legends? How is everybody doing? Let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me. Let's get the background music on and say hello to the beautiful community. See what's going on, legends, because what a major shakeout, guys. I got shaken out from this move. I entered a long position and I got wrecked, guys. I didn't get wrecked. I got stopped out. Okay, I did lose $10,000, guys, on this movement to the downside. Okay, so that needs to be talked about, right? I'm not here, your guru on YouTube that's going to come out and say, we're absolutely nailing it. Profits here, profits there. We'll talk about the profits later on, okay, because they are profits, but I need to talk about stop losses, right? This is part of the game. We need to be real. I got caught into this euphoric pump inside of the retracement, guys. Can't lie, okay? Got into the retracement here. Stop where the stops usually are from retail, guys. I felt like a fish inside of a shark tank getting obliterated, guys, okay? So that needs to be talked about. I'll share the stop loss here right away, guys. Stop loss of over $10,000 on a long position on Bitcoin. But it's not all bad news. There are some good news as well. Okay, I do think that this has been a flush and we could be getting a bounce from the zone. I did get into an Ethereum short position on a failed auction that was also mentioned in the Telegram community. And that so far, is doing pretty okay. We got a failed auction, okay, from the all-time high. I already entered before that failed auction and I had some trigger orders on below the highs, all-time highs, to get this pullback at least to where we are right now. And I am aware of the price of Ethereum bouncing from this area. We're going to do some Ethereum analysis today, guys, because eventually there will be a larger correction to happen at some point. The question is it going to be from this zone after creating that failed auction, swing failure pattern, if you wish, closing that 4-hourly candle, daily candle beneath all-time high, when we had the attempt also here on Friday, basically hitting all-time high. And then we got the double top local scenario. And there is a simple reason why I believe that some kind of a rejection could happen, with the potential of even coming down as low as the low 4K levels. Of course, we are in bullish market, right? Why the hell would you want to get into shorts, right? We're so bullish. It's just because of the price really stretching its legs here, and we without a doubt could get a bounce from here and create another wave to the upside and then get the larger pullback. Okay, so I'm going to be explaining a little bit here what I do see on Ethereum, because this without a doubt could be one wave, right? There is a potential of this being one wave, we correct down, and now we get our next breakout, solid breakout in a wave 3. But ultimately, I am looking for some kind of a big, large correction at some point, entering into September potentially, which is going to give us our last opportunity for major swing positions, okay, for major big swings. I'll be going through the Ethereum, eventually first throughout Bitcoin, where I do believe it's likely going to get a bounce, okay, not, getting into a small long position here in this zone. Just being aware that the lows can be wicked, okay, is actually not a bad idea. Okay, it's not actually a bad idea. You need to be aware that the lows could be wicked again and then the recovery happens. So you just need to be prepared that that is a scenario. But I do see an ultimate recovery here for the price of Bitcoin in this area. And it will be explained throughout a little bit of technical analysis, Elliott wave theory, support that we do have here. We do have a little order block, okay, a little teeny weeny order block right over here that is doing the job. It's doing the job with a naked point of control from that little consolidation that we have here. As you can see, it's an order block from the 4-hourly daily chart, where the price is actually holding today, right? That little order block right over here. And based on Elliott wave theory, also, it wouldn't make sense for the price to successfully break down. We talked about this on yesterday's live stream, that there is the potential of forming a 3-wave structure and then bounce. Okay, I got a little bit, got ahead of the herd and, participated in getting stopped out, which was totally fine. And ultimately, we did create a little swing failure pattern from the lows. And now we're back down, back testing this order block, naked point of control, where I do see 2 options here. For me, there's 2 options. You either bounce from here or you take out the low and you bounce. So, sometimes when you think about getting the best entry, sometimes you miss out, right? Now, the overall question is, will we form a higher low, right? Will we form a higher low right over here and start getting the bounce? We got a massive CME gap, guys. Before anyone goes through the comment section, I'm sure we have at least 2 comments of the CME gap. Massive CME gap, guys, of, what is it, $4,000 approximately? Big CME gap. Will it eventually get filled at some point throughout the week? Well, I do think so, right? I do think so. I'm not much of a CME gap filler lover, right? But we know that gaps usually get filled, right? And this is a zone where I do think that the price of Bitcoin could get a significant bounce, okay? The overall question here for many, right? If you are a trader, okay, like myself, sometimes you need to get in with a small amount of capital, right? You're always looking for the best scenario, which usually happens to me. I usually wait for the best scenario, the best level to get in, and then the price front runs the level, right? Or it leaves without you. And in this case, it's one of those areas where the price could actually form a higher low, right? Where it is right now, it's actually getting a nice little attempt in moving higher to change the trend eventually, right? We got this is such a trappy pump, guys. How, I've seen this before and I have fallen into this trap, guys. I've fallen into the trap and I know better, guys. I know better because, yes, we got the Fed Chair Powell speech on Friday, interest rate cuts, everything's going to fly. Absolutely wonderful. We got, Ethereum hitting all-time high, some altcoins pumping, and then we've had, price of Bitcoin pumping $5,000 throughout Friday. And then, it's a news-driven pump. It's a news-driven pump, guys. You can never trust a market structure breakout and still, which we are going to go through Elliott wave scenarios here. This can be all sorts still, guys. It can be all sorts of scenarios, unfortunately, okay? I think there is higher probability that the price, as mentioned yesterday, based on the analysis of yesterday, that we do get a bounce. Whoever watched the video here, you either form a, zigzaggy move down here or actually an aggressive zigzag down to sweep up the lows. And likely that we are not going to successfully break down from this region. Doesn't mean that we can test it. We can get choppy here. It can double bottom, right? We have a few scenarios that could happen. And, for me, it's either going to bounce, forming a higher low from the wick, or it's actually going to revisit the low again and then get the swing failure pattern. Of course, I need the price to swing failure pattern for me to enter a trade so I can put a stop loss beneath the low. In this case, when we're talking about Bitcoin. So we'll be discussing a little bit of Elliott wave scenarios, but I think, we are holding this naked point of control, order block, if you wish, from this range. And it does not make too much sense for me based on the analysis of the downtrend after this pump. Even though it was a news-driven pump, guys, you can never trust these pumps or dumps from news, guys. Any drop or dump from FUD, you're looking for a bounce after the FUD. Every bounce that you get from major good news, regardless if it's Fed Chair Powell, you're really looking for the price to get back from the area where it started the pump. It's just extremely common, right? It's extremely common to happen. And I did fall for this trap, guys. I fell for the trap. But then I was also hedging, of course, with the Ethereum short position, which is not doing that bad. Not doing that bad. I've already taken significant profit. I did go a little bit more aggressive with some trigger orders beneath all-time high, and got the movement down to the lows. I mean, this was high probability that Ethereum was very likely not going to successfully break out from all-time high with this attempt, even after the attempt of Friday. And it all has to do with what's happened here. To get successful continuation after the gigantic pump that we got on Friday was highly unlikely. Okay, so a swing failure pattern, double top for a 5-6% drop at a bare minimum. If we can get the 10% drop, even better. But overall, we need to take profit because we are still very much bullish on Ethereum, right? And you can actually count here a pretty nice 5-wave structure: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Possible steep correction, which would be a little bit quick in time, but ultimately, we are bullish, right? Ethereum is bullish regardless, getting that swing failure pattern. There are several options here. We get a rally and we break out from all-time high throughout the next couple of days. And eventually, I would say that we're not going to further extend to 5,500 plus. I mean, there are some Elliott wave theory targets and some waves that I want to discuss here. Or it actually forms a flat scenario throughout the next coming days, right? And it manages to dip down below $4,000, which would be ideal, because I'm going to hold some of that position unless I get stopped out here. I mean, Ethereum is super bullish. We could definitely be revisiting the highs, okay? But swing failure pattern from all-time high is a failed auction. It's always a great option, right? We did get that one on Bitcoin, which I did miss because, I just didn't have any limit orders. I was, this was 1 o'clock in the morning. I was asleep. But you always want to attempt a possible swing failure pattern if it makes sense based on the uptrend structure. And on Ethereum, it did make sense to at least get a rejection to basically in between the 382 and the 50% Fibonacci, which is where we at right now. And the main reason why is because of a running flat, right? You've got a 3-wave structure here, a possible 3-waver having 5 waves inside of a C wave. And I was giving it an option. It's either going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, correction down to sweep up the lows, get to 382, 50% at a bare minimum, which is where we at today, or form the flat scenario, which is either running flat, which is also a common target to hit the 382, 50% Fibonacci from low to high, which is where we at, or hitting the 1.618 extension from the A wave to the C wave, which is literally where we almost tapped. So a running flat is rare, but it's like the minimum target. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're like you're speculating on the 5th wave. If it is going to be an impulse to get that rejection of 5%, it is aggressive, right? When the market is looking so bullish, but it's all-time high. And when we take a look at the rally here, you've already had a big wave. So your 5th wave has high probability to fail. It is a risky bet, of course, but it's all-time high. I took that risk. You need to risk it for the biscuit, and we have the biscuit here crumbling. So let's see if we do get that dump down to the low 4K levels with the overall general flat idea, which is, I mean, if it were to be an expanding flat, well, we'll be looking to get down below $4,000. That would be absolutely awesome, because that's where I would be making significant gains on this short position. But I realize that we are in bullish momentum. I think this is a shallow pullback for me to get into a long. I'm not buying it. I'm aware of the flat, just because the flat could be also, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and it would be absolutely ideal, right? From this 5-wave structure that we had throughout the first week, second week of August, I'm going to give it a shot, guys. I've taken profits already, but I'm going to leave some open, all right? Because there is the chance of getting down to $4,000, right? We'll leave the chance for that to happen, and that would be my swing trade. Instead of a swing long position, it's going to be a swing short potential. I missed the long position on a swing long here on Ethereum. I missed it. Was not buying to get into whatever Jerome Powell was going to say. Missed it, but it doesn't matter, guys. There's opportunities every day or every other day, so I wasn't too worried about it. I did actually get into a long on a little scalp here based on a back test of the pivot lows, which was still open, but didn't manage to make significant profits like I would have done in a swing long position, right? We should have been making $50,000 at least in this movement, which I missed completely. I just got into a scalp that just managed to, make 4K, which is, okay still, but not what I would have wished to make. So let's give the short an opportunity on Ethereum to see if we can. Okay, I will go through the analysis and how the price could develop. All right, there will be shorting zones and also longing opportunities, preferably long, guys, because Ethereum is an absolute beast, and I do expect a successful breakout on Ethereum at some stage eventually with this insane uptrend momentum. There's no major signs of weakness. There's just corrections. I'm getting into corrections, guys. So, overall, we are expecting all-time high for Ethereum again very, very soon. Anyway, let's go through the comment section. Then we'll break down a little bit of the technical analysis here for the price of Bitcoin. We do have that massive CME futures gap, not back. And we can take a look at, other cryptocurrencies later on, S&P 500. We do have the opening of the market right now, which is getting a little bit of pumpy action. It is correcting nicely after the Friday pump, right? This one did not get a flash crash. So, let's go through the comment section. We'll dive into the price of Bitcoin and analyze how the price could develop. Worst case scenario eventually would be breaking down here, guys, which I do think there's low probability for the moment. A double bottom here is worth a shot. If we do not double bottom and we break down from the recent lows, then eventually we are looking at, $109,000 at a bare minimum, which would be a naked point of control from this zone. We also have the golden pocket slightly below that pivot, okay? From the pivot low of this range to the pivot high, it's not going to be easy. I would rather wait for a range. This local double bottom is worth an attempt. If we do double bottom, we get down there, guys, I will do an attempt here, okay, on the live, if the lows are going to be taken and we get a reaction, okay, more locally. If we do not get the reaction and we double bottom, then obviously lower we go. It's just like that, right? And I'm not going to have any limit longs or anything here. We're going to analyze a little bit of where we find support, okay, because there is the possibility of a breakdown, which I think is low probability. I think there's low probability. I do think that a bounce from this region is very, very possible, and that has to do not only because of this little naked point of control order block, it's because of Elliott wave theory, okay, as well, which we'll break down here throughout the next coming minutes. First of all, say hello to the beautiful community. The like button is bearish. How many likes do we have, legends? Let's get that like button absolutely destroyed. On your way in, 100 likes, not too bad. 600 people watching the stream. That's okay. We can get to 200 likes, I think, legends. Let's take a look at the WLFI US dollar tether botmation. We can take a look at some altcoins. Give me a bit of time for Bitcoin. Let's break down Bitcoin here, guys. Andy Pandy, Ever Candy, Phantom, much love to you. Market M, yo, Andy, giveaway, maybe. If we can get to 500 likes, we can do a giveaway, a special giveaway. If we do get to 500 likes, we will do a giveaway. Why not? You got it. Phantom, much love. Daniel Singleton, afternoon. Georgie, hello. Can you have a look at ADA? Absolutely. We can take a look at some altcoins later on, guys. I want to break down Bitcoin and I want to break down Ethereum, and then we can take a look at some altcoins, okay? If you wish. I'm not much of an altcoin trader myself. I do try sometimes, but I'm not the best. I'm really flip-flopping into Bitcoin and Ethereum. Too many altcoins are just going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass for me anyway to trade, to get into big positions. I don't trust the altcoin trades, never mind altcoins. We need to focus on Bit. It's already hard enough to get into good trades in Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? Really look for a plan and a good strategy and a good risk management. And altcoins, I just lower risk on altcoins. When I trade altcoins, I'm like using 0.1% of my capital. Just I don't trust the analysis, guys. Altcoins can, whatever Bitcoin does, we know if Bitcoin takes a tank, then altcoins, no matter how bullish. The mic is not plugged in, legends. Let me plug in the mic. It must have been awful, guys. Much better now. Sorry about that. Sound must have been horrendous. Anyway, let's continue through the comment section right away. Say hello to the rest of the people. Okay, 𝗏𝗚ation, Cosmin, 𝗬cie. Isn't it funny when bull run possibly ends, it gets more difficult to trade? Can this be, I mean, less retail, smarter traders becoming fish in the absence of more fish thing? Andy is amazing. I mean, yeah, I mean, let's be honest here. I got into the retracement, guys, on the weekend, and there was some significant liquidity well, I mean, not massive, but there was some liquidity here sitting, after that waterfall. Some people say I never really trust the pumps or dumps that are news related, guys. And many times you come to the start of where that pump happened or dump happened, after a day or two. It's just very, very common. You cannot rely on good news, guys, or whatever, or bad news. If it's bad news, it's good news on the charts. You get the flash crash of the initial reaction, and then it reverses. It's just very, very common, right? And this is why, this pump or this dump was news related. Can we rely on it to continue at the trend, right? Is just really not reliable, which makes it, you need to be responsible as a trader and say, screw this pump or this dump based on news, and when you're looking for the bounce or the retracement to get in, this is what happens, right? And, I'm totally transparent about it, guys. There's no major issue about sharing, the losses like I did at the stream, right? I lost about over $10,000 on that long in here. There's retracement throughout the weekend, and I'm not much of a trader in the weekend, and I did share it with the community. But overall, that offset of the short position on Ethereum, which was a little bit more of a percentage drop, we have to say. When we talk about percentages, the drop on Ethereum of a few $100s is eventually more than Bitcoin of a couple of $1,000s, right? $3,000-4,000. So yeah, that Ethereum drop, obviously with the 4-hourly candle close beneath all-time high, after forming either 3 waves to the upside or 5 waves, it doesn't really matter. You understand that after this structure, and if you do close beneath this high, you have high probability at least to sweep up this low and actually get down to 38250% area. If it were to be a wave 2, you're at least expecting 50% to be hit. And if it's a running flat in between the 382 and the 50%, or the 1.618 extension, right, which is kind of the the minimum zone where a running flat usually lies. So there was a few scenarios that were pointing out for this dip on Ethereum if it failed to break out, and I was really counting on it. So would have been interesting to get stopped out from a short on Ethereum and stopped out on a long on Bitcoin. It's like, wow, never happened in my life. It would have been the first time. Would have felt pretty ridiculous. But overall, the analysis pointed out that it was good, and I'm glad that at least this trade on Ethereum, which is aggressive. I mean, I hope we do drop down to 4K, if I'm honest with you. Anyway, let's continue through the comment section. What's up, Pac-Man? Thanks for joining, my man. 𝗖𝗿, Injective. Just get out of it, says 𝗞𝗚. And Big Short. Big Short on what? USDT is going down this bear market, in my opinion. Okay. Why did Binance cancel US dollar tether? Anyone knows? I have no idea. Pac-Man, much love. Your mic sucks today. Yeah, anyway, mic's plugged in. Love your work, Nick. Much love to you. Thank you very much. Let's go right away through Bitcoin, which is actually coming down now to revisit the lows. So let's see what happens with this scenario, okay, on the stream. We are going to be talking about the bearish case. I think probably the S&P 500 got a little pump and dump right now. Pump on the open, dumping here throughout the last few minutes, which is dragging the price of Bitcoin slightly to the downside. Hopefully it will do with Ethereum as well. But why is it, why would it be based on the technicals? Why is it kind of low probability? The probabilities are lower. It doesn't mean it can't happen based on the analysis that we dump down from here successfully, right? And, the only next trade attempt from now would be swing failure pattern of the lows, guys. It might be an attempt that we might get live. Okay, revisit the wick. Revisit the wick. Let's see if we do get down here. We don't have much more support beneath us, I have to say. There's not much more support. I mean, well, there is the highs of this region, which is where we've been getting supported, right? The highs of this area, right? It's kind of a resistance support flip. That's where we got the general quick little wick, okay, late last night, and got an instant reaction bounce, okay, of about $2,000. Got the order block, naked point of control, the revisit of the lows here. Let's see if we do not break it, guys. If you move down and you successfully go to low, you successfully break, we're just looking for lower. I don't want to catch any falling knife in this region. Next big major support is a naked point of control at $109,000. So I haven't got much of anything here based on levels. This is the previous week low. So a double bottom, a quick wick to claim some liquidity could be an option. So let's analyze that scenario right now. It might be a little sweep of the lows, okay, which is going to happen right now as we speak. Okay, so let's see if we do get a quick wick to the downside and an instant reaction bounce here. It could be possibly a quick sniper, and if we break down, we break down. I would just let it go, let the price go if it breaks down after the wick. If it does not wick, we actually already tested the low, but it's not the best. You would rather want to see a bit more of an aggressive wick down and a recovery, and see if we do create that swing failure pattern for an instant reaction bounce, or we get the bounce here, or we get the drop, right? We fail to move to lower prices. Okay. Let's see what happens here with the movement down. We're just revisiting that low of the wick of yesterday night. Let's see what happens here, legends. Will we break down? Let me know in the comment section. Ethereum also getting this, slight little movement. Ethereum did hold very well. For the moment, Ethereum is having the attention eventually, right? Ethereum's got the attention. Ethereum has got strength against Bitcoin. Also taking a look at the Ethereum BTC chart. Ethereum does have the strength compared to Bitcoin based on the Bitcoin Ethereum BTC pair, right? But I think that this is definitely overextended. Ethereum is king. Bitcoin is king. Bitcoin's always king, and I am very skeptical about the continuation of the Ethereum BTC bounce, okay, especially on the lower time frame. It does look extremely overextended for a wave 3, okay, and some kind of a pullback throughout the next coming weeks. September would be glorious because that is the most bearish month for cryptocurrency, for Bitcoin and crypto throughout the history. Will it repeat or not? Well, that's the thing. I mean, based on the analysis and the extension of this wave, it does make sense that a pullback and a range is very likely to happen on the Ethereum BTC chart. So I think Bitcoin will come back as king. Here we got an instant quick reaction, guys. I'm not sure if we did test the low. It was just a quick little wick to the downside. Very, very quick, guys. I'm not sure if anybody managed to jump into that long position, but it was, I think we just, barely wicked beneath the level. I mean, whoever entered right there with stop at the low, you literally can, put your stop loss at break even right now for an epic recovery. Okay, let's see if it does get that epic recovery here. But that was the most basic entry possible to get a swing failure pattern, even though it was very, 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 very shallow. Very, very shallow. I would put stop loss at break even here, and you could actually ride a free trade if it is going to get the bounce, right? Because, you know, this theory comes, we're going to explain why the bounce is possible eventually here on the stream. And I'm talking about a big bounce. You know, I would even talk about this being a possible swing long with the possibility of coming all the way up to the $117,000. You know, you're kind of getting in, you're managing risk very well. You put your stop loss, you know, a few dollars above your entry, and you can run a free trade. I mean, it was a very, very small wick, already bouncing $400 or $500. But, you know, it's the same theory as the wick that we formed on Friday, which was just about an hour or even less than that before the Fed Chair Powell speech. Swing failure pattern from the lows here of the 3rd of August, right? A bloody magnet. I'm going to take it off the way, right? We did form that swing failure pattern. And, you know, the price got a major rally. I mean, look at this for an entry. Small little liquidity grab. And then epic bounce. I mean, yeah, with the, you know, Chair Powell speech. Massive rally here. I mean, this is a beautiful move of 4,000, you know, even more than that, $5,000 swing failure pattern, right? It has to be one of the best entries ever that you can get into. Okay, testing a low or testing a high. If it's from higher time frame, even better. Double top all-time high, test of the lows on Friday. And even this one, lower time frame ones are not that sexy, because I mean, this low was from yesterday. But it just gives you such a quick, solid entry, and you can manage risk very, very well on these kind of trade setups. Okay, just get stopped out at break even. If it comes down, I mean, we just hit the low by a few dollars. Nothing too major here with the wick. But I'm going to explain why this has the potential of actually bouncing. Okay, if we do not bounce from here, or we revisit the lows and create a larger wick and then recover, this has the potential of really coming up, to 115, 116, even taking out the highs right over here throughout the next coming days, guys. You know, this has the potential of recovering back up to $117,000. So it's a trade that it's worth to be taken, because on the analysis, there is a chance for that to happen. And when we think about bearish scenarios, right? And I'm just going to focus here on the movement down that we've had from all-time high, right? It's like, what is this? This is what I'm here to try and figure out if this move is actually bearish. If it is going to be bearish, we want to find some kind of an impulsive move down. Or a multiple 1-2, you want to find something that is a leading move to the downside in impulses, right? To really look for a possible wave 3 that breaks down, right? And when you do count the waves, I'm not going to go too specific here, but when you do count the waves to the downside, you can count 9 waves. You can count 9 waves here to the downside, which is either going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, where you do have in this movement to the downside, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got a little low right there, which could have been your 3rd wave, and then the 4th and the 5th wave. Then you think, okay, well, if that is the case, what you could be looking at here is either a 3-wave structure or a flat scenario as well, which is eventually looking to take out the highs, if not a running flat that takes out, a lower high, gets up to the 382, 50% Fibonacci most commonly, and then gets the reversal. But that is one scenario, right? And this is why there is a big chance of bouncing from here. If this were to be a 5-wave move down, you could be looking for a flat, now that we're at the lows. Or it could actually be, as there is 9 waves to the downside, what it could be right over here is this latest move that we had, okay, right over here, this latest move, a possible flat where you have a zigzag down, correction, zigzag down. And this movement is a flat, as explained yesterday, which you are going to be forming a larger range. That is definitely possible as well, right? And this, we're looking for a large complex WXY where this is a zigzag down in your W, okay, because you can count zigzag down your correction in this zone, and then another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then inside of this area, you do have a flat, an expanding flat with the pump of yesterday, which, this is your wave W. This right over here is your first wave of your wave X, right? Which we do not know where it's going to finish, right? This is your first wave, which is a flat, and this is a zigzag down. For the moment, it does look very zigzaggy to the downside. As it is a flat to the upside and a zigzag down, in an ABC flat, you can also have a flat inside of your A wave, because inside of your A wave of a flat, you need 3 wave structures. A 3-wave structure, in this case, it would be a flat. So a zigzag to the downside in your B wave. And then instead of forming a zigzag move up here, you would be looking for a 5-wave structure. It doesn't really matter. Both have potential to get very close to the $117,000, $116,000 as a target zone, just in case it could be a running flat and then it breaks down, right? Because a running flat, eventually you would be looking at as this as a W, X, and then Y double zigzag. We actually break down and go to the $105,000. Most of the scenarios, unfortunately, regardless if this is an impulse, this is a flat, and we continue breaking down. I mean, there is a way of fitting a double 1-2 scenario here. There is a way, because if this is if this is an impulse, this is a correction. If this is another impulse, because you can count an impulse here in these waves, and this is your flat, a 1-2, okay, 1-2 right over here is also a possibility. It's not looking that great. I mean, this second wave 2 compared to this one is out of proportion. Okay, you prefer to have smaller 1-2s, right, as you do move to the downside. And I mean, there is a way, but it's, as this second wave 2 is much larger, okay, in price action than your first 2, you don't give it the highest probability. So, as explained yesterday as well, you either have the zigzag down, you have the flat, which is the first wave of your 3-wave structure of your wave X, because this is your W, and then you're looking for your Y wave to develop throughout the next coming days. Obviously, if this were to be the case, we are looking for a bounce in this region. Double bottom, test the lows, you are looking for the best entry and the best risk management here, which is the one that just happened. That would have been your best option to get into a good position, risk-free basically, with the potential of getting that rally in the next coming days to form still a corrective structure. Now, all of these scenarios that we are looking at are corrective structures, because the only impulsive move to the downside is that 1, 2, 1, 2. You want to see that breakdown in a third wave here pretty aggressively. So all of the scenarios are looking for a correction. All of the scenarios are really looking for a corrective wave, which eventually means if you are moving in a corrective manner from all-time high, we are expecting new all-time highs to happen on Bitcoin in the next coming weeks, despite the price coming down to the low 100K levels, guys. So another long position, swing long position with low leverage. If we were to come down to this zone, once we form potentially a WXY right? We have a bit of a 3-wave structure, which we can manage to see in the next coming days as this does develop. It will be the sweet spot to get into that swing trade position to take out all-time highs at some point. So we need several days for this to develop without a doubt. And that comes with the general idea that this could be the contracting diagonal, okay? Contracting diagonal end right over here, regardless if it's going to be an ending diagonal or a leading diagonal. If it's a leading diagonal, we're looking for another 1, 2, and then 3, bull market, super cycle. If it's an ending diagonal, well, we are looking for it to be a wave 3, right? Because then we're looking at 4 and then 5, and possibly end of the bull run. The last rally, which is not going to be as explosive as many think, but another all-time high, at least one more time, depending if it's going to smash it or not, has higher probability at the moment based on the downtrend structure that we have formed since all-time high. For the moment, it does not have the highest probability unless it's proven today or tomorrow. Unless the price really breaks down from here, then we could arguably discuss that we have formed a double 1, 2 here. And the main reason you wouldn't give it the highest probability is because your second wave 1 and 2 looks bad. It just looks bad. It looks much more aggressive, the second wave 2, than your first wave 2. And usually what is more common is that your second wave 1 and 2 and third 1 and 2 are smaller than your previous ones, right? To then get the breakdown in a third wave. So let's see. Let's see. For the moment, I have to say, double, triple bottoms here is the way to go with good risk management, because you could, if we do get a reclaim of the pivot low here of the 3rd of August, right? We get back above of the lows. We change a bit of bullish market structure. It looks promising. We have the potential of going to $117,000, right? That's where we have most of the liquidity. It is a liquidity game at the end of the day. It is a liquidity game. So where does most of the liquidity sit right now after sweeping up those lows? Well, eventually, there is still a bit of liquidity below 110K. Don't get me wrong. But there is a lot of liquidity sitting above $117,000. A lot of it. A lot, guys. And eventually, we understand that this is a liquidity game. We can use a little bit of Elliott wave theory to give us projections, entries, good risk management, swing failure patterns, okay? Based on the analysis. A swing failure pattern here is without a doubt an option. And it all, the main reason why it's an option has to do with this latest move down. If we are counting all of this as a 3-wave structure, I've got a folder here. If we are counting all of this as a 3-wave move down, okay, you got your impulsive move, very aggressive. You got a triangle here in your wave B, and then you have a 5-wave move to the downside, okay, which is forming your wave C here. Then you have your flat. And then this is the most important movement down to understand that a bounce from here is extremely possible. Extremely possible. And a double bottom is just going to give you your perfect entry and, risk-free trade and make significant gains, if the price does manage to start bouncing from this zone. So what looks interesting about this movement to the downside, and eventually worst case scenario, is looking at a 1, 2, 1, 2, and then break down in a third wave. And this is all part of a massive breakdown. You can never say that's not possible as a technical analyst and a trader. This is it's a reality. This could be a 1, 2, 1, 2, but it definitely has a chance to be a 3-wave structure. When you have a huge amount of volume, okay, when you have a huge amount of volume in a wave, there is a high chance that it's either a third wave or a C wave okay, or a Y wave, which you will have a C wave inside potentially, right? Usually the end of, getting to the end of the movement. In this case, well, most commonly you would see a wave 3 with the highest amount of volume. And inside of a wave 3, you literally don't want to see the wave 4 get above the golden pocket, because the most common area for a wave 4 is in between the 236 and the 50% Fibonacci. When you have your first move down and your most aggressive move to the downside with the highest amount of volume, when you get a bounce to the golden pocket, right? I mean, the hard invalidation is hitting the wave 1 low, which would be this one, right? That would be the hard invalidation, because there's always the potential of a contracting diagonal or an expanding diagonal, okay? But ultimately, hitting the golden pocket is already a good sign that it's unlikely a successful impulsive move down if you bounce here in your potential wave 4, right? If you hit the golden pocket, you automatically need to start thinking of this could be a 3-wave structure. And if this is a 3-wave structure, you are looking for some kind of a recovery to happen, despite if you test the lows or not, because testing the lows is a good option for a double bottom. In this case, if you hit the 618 and you move down, a double bottom is a good option. Now, when I do break down, I was talking about this with 𝗬𝗍𝘆 in the Legends trading community. I mean, this is only to give you the best option for an entry point, right? Because you can be the best TA guy, and I'm not the best technical analyst guy. I'm far away from it. But finding that, good risk management is your best tool that you can have. If your risk management is off, you will end up burning accounts and burning money, guys, okay? It's just part of the game. Your risk management is really what you need to make good. I can lose $10,000 in a trade. It doesn't matter. I can lose 20. I can lose 30. It's those are kind of my numbers that I'm happy to lose in a trade. But if you have a $10,000 account and you're losing $5,000 on that trade, it's too much. Should be losing a few $100s, right? Maximum, or if you have a $10,000 account, and try and build it up with several trades, right? And maybe, make 20% return at the end of the month, right? Those are realistic numbers when you consider good risk management. Anyway, going back to this theory, I was talking about with 𝗬𝗍𝘆 today. Inside of the Legends Pro, this is definitely one of the options. Just sharing a screenshot, even though it looks extremely messy, and you might think, what the heck is this? What the heck is all of this numbers and all of this, right, letters? It's literally another 3-wave structure to the downside, okay? And when we do apply, zooming out, how the price action is moving here, this is why this has a good probability in bouncing from this area, regardless if it's, the first swing failure pattern or the second swing failure pattern. It doesn't matter. It has a very good option here to get a bounce. And when we do break down on the lower time frame, how the price has moved down here, it doesn't make sense for it to be an impulse. It makes sense for it to be a corrective structure. And that has to do with the bounce that we got after the highest volume move to the downside. Because as I explained before, when you have the highest movement down with high volume, you do not want the next wave to hit the golden pocket, and obviously do not overlap the pivot low here. Once this does happen, when you have the highest amount of volume on that big leg to the downside, the probabilities of whatever happens here is that you're likely going to reverse up. You're likely going to get that movement to the upside. And this is basically what is happening in this zone, giving you high probability that a reversal here is basically cooking. So this is basically the movement that's happening inside of this zone. And of course, to be a little bit more confident in what is happening here, right? When you do Elliott wave theory, you always need to go, okay, you're focusing on one wave. You always need to go back to see what happened in the previous wave. And obviously with what happened in the previous wave zone, right? To really try and map out what could potentially happen. Right. And when we do get all of the information that we've had throughout the last week, well, the conclusion here is that, a bounce from this zone is very much a possibility. One of the good options here is looking at this as a flat and this as a 3-wave structure. If you have a flat after a zigzag move down, right, for a possible wave W, and you have a flat and a zigzag down, you have the potential of forming a flat here. All of this could be a flat structure, which I'm not sure if you guys are following up here. In a nutshell, we are at support, and a double bottom is nice, right? When we do, it's nice to be a little bit complex and go through Elliott wave theory, because it just gives you the possible projections, right? When you take a trade, you want, very good entry, you want very good risk management, and you want a possible projection to realize where you want to take profit, right? So in this case, the projection does look pretty good to at least get to around about 115 to 117, maybe even higher. Maybe you do sweep up the highs, but you got minimum targets for the running flat scenario, which would be the worst case scenario, to then continue the drop down. So yeah, for the moment, it looks like that the range could continue and we could actually bounce with the potential of hitting $117,000. But I do not see, if we were to hit $117,000 in the next coming days, legends, we got a lot of resistance, and this is not a structure to finish to then fly to all-time high. You are likely going to continue the range, and the main reason why is when we do zoom out here and we take a look at the uptrend momentum we've had since April. Let's get all of this out of the way 1 second. When we do zoom out and we analyze the massive rally that we've had since April, you have got a 5-wave count here. And for this to be the end of the correction and then fly to all-time high, unlikely based on time. It's unlikely because of timing. If you finished a 5-wave move up, you at least want to get across the 38% time of your first initial wave, which in this case was finishing here, and this would be entering into, into September possibly. So I'm not looking for all-time high, guys, on Bitcoin anytime soon. We do have, without a doubt, the potential of going to $117,000 plus, which is the highs of Friday. Fill the CME gap, right? Fill that CME gap. Maybe get rejected. Maybe it's just wick above the high of $117,000 high from Friday. Maybe wick above it. This is a zone where there's a lot of resistance, right? You got the point of control of this range. You have a lot of levels here. You have a lot of resistance. Range point of control, weekly naked point of control as well from this range. Highest volume node. There is a lot going on above 117.3k. There is a lot of a lot going on. There's a big cluster of resistance. So it would not make sense for the price to actually rally successfully through this zone, as we've only had our first wave down here and we're still busy with the second wave. And as we do have a wave down, coming from a major uptrend, which could have been the end of a 5-wave, a contracting diagonal, right? What you're looking here is for a 3-wave structure, right? Or a larger range to happen in some kind of a WXY, possibly. The ABC is possible as well. I mean, there is a way of counting this as an A wave. There is a way of counting a 5-wave structure inside of this zone. Overall, it would still be leaning for a possible zigzag down, right? Most commonly, if it is an ABC, it's likely going to be a zigzag. If it's a WXY, it could be a double zigzag, and it could also be a sideways, okay, WXY, which could be developing throughout the next couple of weeks entering into September. So anyway, yeah, the bounce here is, for the moment, highly likely, unless the price would break down. So this is why, if you come to revisit the lows right at this zone, local double bottoms, triple bottoms if you wish, is not a bad option. Just realizing that what could be on the formation here is a flat formation or a WXY. It doesn't really matter, but yeah, a flat is very much possible in this zone. And we already got into the B wave flat target area, which is the 1236 to the 1382 extension of your A wave. And your A wave starts from here all the way up here, right, as it is a flat. When you reverse the extension, the most common area for your B wave flat eventually is the 1236 to the 1382, which is sitting in between 110.5 and 111.1. This is exactly where the price is finding support with that naked point of control, with the order block, right? So you're adding a little bit of confluence, naked point of control, order block, a bit of Elliott wave theory, and you come to the conclusion that this is the area which can bounce. So double bottom, as we got at the beginning of the stream, we actually got the double bottom. We got the swing failure pattern on the stream here as well. And this was the best option to get into a long. We're already bouncing over $1,000 from taking out that low. Just a little quick swing failure pattern. And this is something that we were discussing as well in the Legends Pro community before, okay, before coming into the stream, okay, which is giving you the option of taking out the low and creating that bounce, that double bottom. Okay, just a screenshot on how the possibilities, how the price could develop, and so far so good. Ethereum's probably getting a pretty decent rally right now. Still there. We can take a look at Ethereum and discuss Ethereum, because Ethereum does have the potential right now to take out all-time high, and if it does so, I do believe that it could be a wave 3. Could be a wave 3. We could smash out through all-time high and then eventually create the 4-5, and this would be the moment that we would be looking for a pretty decent correction, right? So break out successfully from all-time high, but ultimately create a failed auction like on the weekly, right? It would be a weekly wick to the upside, because I do think that we're not going to go to $6,000 on the next attempt. I think we can go to 5,500, maybe 5,800. And that has to do as well with Elliott wave theory and the extension of the waves that we do have on the formation. I mean, we haven't had a proper correction in a large fourth wave on Ethereum. I mean, a multiple 1-2 scenario is, it is possible, right? It can be more bullish than we think. It can definitely be more bullish than we think. And we have formed a 5-wave structure here throughout the last few days. It is a 5-wave impulse. When we do zoom in on the lower time frame, it's a pretty classic possible 5-waver. I mean, it can be counted as well as a 3-waver. It can be counted if you add this small little 1-2. 345. You know, there is a 5-wave move here squeezed in, but it could also be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, eventually bringing you the possibility of smashing out here. So, but the problem is with Ethereum is that we haven't formed, you know, we've been rallying like crazy since the lows here. It's been a huge exponential rally. I mean, the largest correction, it was this one, but this very likely is part of the third wave. I have to say, very, very likely part of the third wave. You know, there is a possibility here, as you can see on the waves, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 4 and 5. You know, the overall question here is the fifth wave finished? Or is this just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you finish this fifth wave right over here? And then you get the large pullback. I mean, likely some kind of a large range, and, you know, potentially would be entering into September. That would be the ideal scenario, right? Because we know that September is mainly one of the most bearish months for Bitcoin. I mean, it's on the data. Nothing, history does not need to repeat, but it would make sense when you combine Elliott wave theory here. Also for Bitcoin, which is for a larger correction, potentially going down to the low 100K levels, $105,000, $107,000, right? That is a major target zone that I do think can be hit in the coming weeks, eventually bringing down the price of Ethereum and the rest of the altcoins eventually, right? If Bitcoin does get another extra drop of a few $1,000s down to the mid 100K levels, then Ethereum and you know, some altcoins could definitely take that hit as well, and that would only bring a much larger corrective move for the last stage of the bull run, right? The moment you start correcting here, it's going to be like the last opportunity to get into major swing longs, in my opinion, because, you know, I do think that Ethereum is potentially going to top out at maybe $6,000 or $7,000, right? I know a lot of people are going to be talking about plus 10,000 Ethereum or $20,000 Ethereum, right? We're going to get these, you know, very much inflated price targets, guys. And if we were to get to $20,000 Ethereum, that is bringing a market cap of, you know, over $1 trillion, right? So I'm not too sure if there's going to be that that much money, you know, coming into Ethereum on this cycle. And staying realistic is, you know, an extensive fifth wave, possibly, that could reach $7,000. But yeah, it makes sense that this would be the last push up, which could take a few more weeks. But it does make sense. I do not see any large correction in a wave 4. And usually your wave 4s, you know, most commonly, this is the most common scenario, right? When we do talk about the probabilities, most commonly a wave 4 is very long in time, very rangy, right? And you can talk about that looking at Bitcoin, right? From the start of the lows of the bull market, right, of the bear market, sorry. When you do analyze the waves from the low of the bear market, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C flat, massive rocket in your wave 3. No big major consolidation. Where you find most commonly is your wave 4 being very complex, very overlappy. WXY is very common for a wave 4. You know, the length of this wave 4 of the bull run, that's where you know, okay, you know, we're likely in a wave 4. We're looking for the wave 5 continuation, regardless if it's going to be an extension or not. I mean, in this case, we are overall extending, which is totally fine for Bitcoin, extending in a wave 5, just the euphoria after the ETF approval, right? And, you know, just extending here eventually with this wave 5. However, we haven't seen that large correction since the lows of April on Ethereum, which is obviously, you know, making me realize that this kind of range corrective structure that has the potential to go below $4,000 is potentially going to happen at some point in the next coming weeks, right? Regardless if we take up the highs again or not. Okay, we overall bullish, we overall looking for higher. overall looking for a successful breakout of all-time high on Ethereum, but just to be aware that eventually, a corrective structure, could be very much around the corner for Ethereum. Let's go right away. Bitcoin is getting a nice little bounce. It is bouncing, guys. Let me know in the comment section, okay? Just as we're doing live, we did claim the low and created a swing failure pattern. It's already bouncing $1,500 from the lows, guys. Let me know if you did get into that long trading setup that happened on the live, guys. What can we say? It happened on the live. So let's go right away through the comment section. Say hello to the beautiful community. I think it's sexy, says Phantom. Keep destroying the like. Legends, if you are interested in trading, we do have some awesome bonuses, okay, down below in the description, okay? We do have Bluffin, we do have Weeks, and you get awesome perks, okay? Bluffin right now with the 10% cashback, okay? You deposit $10,000, you're getting $1,000 on top of that. You deposit $30,000, you're getting $3,000, but not only that, you're getting VIP 1, okay, because that decreases your fees massively, okay, and VIP 2 even more. So Bluffin is a great alternative to any other exchanges that you're using that are asking for personal information. You got Weeks, Bluffin, BTCC. We got awesome perks here, 100% airdrop bonus here. As you can see, you can follow up here with the different perks that you can get on these exchanges. You got Bluffin as the second link, BTCC is the second one, Weeks the third. They're all great exchanges, and you can use only an email and a password if you wish to sign up to those exchanges. Let me know down below. Anybody got into this local double bottom? We love double bottoms. The more bottoms we have, the better the party is going to be, right? So double bottom is always an option when you realize that you have support and you have a high chance in bouncing, okay? You have a higher chance in bouncing, and that's literally what happened here. We got a little small double bottom with the potential of, going to 115K, 117K, obviously as the max potential. And, when you think about the risk to reward on these trading setups, they're literally, look like this, right? I don't know the risk to reward, guys, but risk to reward looks pretty sexy. Double bottoms or double tops, swing failure patterns, failed auctions, they're always going to give you the best reward trade. It's a fact. So yeah, let me know down below if you did manage to get into this trade. I mean, this already could have been a 5-6 to 1 risk to reward. It was always the option to get into that trade very, very nicely, as we can see. Double bottoms are sexy. You got that damn right, Devil. Much love. 𝗖𝗍cie says Pac-Man. Much love to you, Devil. The legend himself, one of the expert coaches in the Telegram community, in the pro community, guys. He's an absolute legend. He's always posting updates every single day. If you want to join the Telegram, okay, the pro community or the exclusive channel, you got the first link down below, guys. We've got many coaches there, updates every single day, trying to figure out what's the next move, the next setup, okay, for scalps, day trades. And you have the Telegram down below if you want more info in the pro community, or get into the exclusive signals channel as well. Okay, we want to say exclusive channel. We don't like to say signals. Okay, did we sweep the lows? We actually did, by just a few dollars. It was a pretty little sweep. It was quite little. Okay, I would even be concerned just speculating on the reversal, that if we do come down again, I would actually be interested if we were to create another sweep, guys. And if it breaks down, then so be it. Let it go. Let it go. Leave it. I wish that we do go down to lower levels. I mean, it would be nice, but I think the probabilities are relatively low. But it would be nice because it would drag the price of Ethereum down, and Ethereum could very much form that flat scenario that I would love it to happen, because I'm leaving a significant chunk of this short position open, and it would be nice for the Ethereum to get down below $4,100. I mean, it would be ideal for me anyway, because I have a bigger short position on Ethereum and not as big on Bitcoin. So I would be happy for that to happen. Anyway, let's go right away. Did we sweep the lows? We did, big time, just by a few dollars, nothing too major. Just by a few dollars, we did sweep up the lows. Let me know, because it was an option to get into a long trade just at the beginning of the stream. Just after 10 minutes, we just focused on the possibility of sweeping the low to give you a good entry and protect position on the bounce. And that's literally what has happened, guys. You know, the risk to reward on this could be exponential. I've explained why there is a chance to, you know, to really get, and I'm just going to get the running flat common target area, where I think it could be a minimum zone to actually take profit if we're considering this a swing. From the pivot low of your A wave to the pivot high of your A wave to the pivot low of your B wave, 113.5, you know, is kind of the minimum flat target area. It would be at least your TP1. I think Devil would agree with me. I mean, depending if you're looking at it as a scalp, because you do have the resistance here. That's where it's struggling at the moment. You are hitting the lows of the 3rd of August and the lows where we did create the swing failure pattern from Friday. It is a support resistance flip. Don't get me wrong. It is a support resistance flip here. I mean, depending if you've taken this as a scalp, it is attempting to break above it, but it is struggling. Just a basic support resistance flip. If you wanted to do a TP1 right there, that's where the price is struggling ever so slightly. We are above those 3rd of August lows. So we kind of reclaimed, or trying to do so anyway. It is trying to stay above that 3rd of August low. Let me know down below, guys. Did you enter that long position? That, you know, these are the ones that give you the best risk reward. I mean, I don't know if we were going to claim that low on the stream, but we did, which eventually gave you that long entry. BTC dominance is bouncing. Sell all of your altcoins. Yeah. El Professor Andy, how are you doing today? Yes, I am. Andy, absolutely. Staffer One, the legend himself, getting into the double bottom on Bitcoin. Make sure to pay yourself a little bit. You can run a free trade right now, but my goodness, this has the potential of really rallying here. We got the overall flush of the market. The fear changing into euphoria, and the euphoria changing into fear that, you know, ultimately, you know, we're looking to reverse here, right? It would be what makes more sense. So I'm glad that some people got into. I entered the long position, says Joshua. Absolutely epic. I'm in heavy long. Long like Donkey Kong, says Devon. Yes, Wonton got into the long position. Can you do Chainlink, please? Okay, let's do some altcoins. Why not? Why not Chainlink? Eventually, my number one altcoin. Love your TA. Would love a collab with Cohen's Trading and you. Cohen's is an absolute master. I actually learned a few little tips from Cohen's. I cannot lie. I cannot deny that. But Cohen is an absolute master in Elliott wave theory. You know, there's no doubt about it. Would love a collaboration with Kuhn. He's an absolute legend on Elliott wave theory. He's like the master. He's really knows it backwards and all of the different scenarios. Yeah, definitely need to get in contact with Kuhn to do a collaboration, because this guy is next level Elliott wave theory. He really does know his stuff backwards. I entered the first double bottom in the Asia session and exited at 113k, 113.5. That's good. I mean, yeah, we did get that nice wick here. I mean, I got stopped out here, guys, on a long. Okay, I shared it at the beginning of the stream. There's nothing to worry about. It is what it is. I actually longed in the weekend, guys, here. Saying, you know, depending on how the price forms in the weekend, you know, I'll look to add to the position. Let's see what happens. And then it's like, whoa. You know, it's a mistake that could have been avoided, if I'm honest with you. It could have been avoided. At the same time, I entered a short position on Ethereum, really believing that we're not going to break out successfully. Yet, all-time high, based on the structure. I've explained this at the beginning of the stream. Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at the waves here, and I was like, okay, when we take a look at the lows from August, I was like, okay, we formed a 5-wave move to the upside, right? Okay, that's totally fine. When we got the pump on Friday, and I only got into a small scalp long on Wednesday, guys. You know, this was basically my trade of the week. This was my trade of the week. This one right over here, which was a back test of a failed auction of this consolidation on Ethereum, right? I did explain that in the Legends Pro community as a screenshot, you know, giving the option of people, you know, it would be nice to come back and back test here the lows after failing to break out. It's a very, very common when you rallying and you form a large consolidation and you continue the rally later on. It's so extremely common to get a reaction at this zone if you fail to break out. If you break down from these major lows, this order block, if you wish, you want to see the price breaking down and backtest it as resistance, if you wish, as well, and then continue to the downside. If it does not break, obviously this is not a zone that I would be interested in a short. There's no way in a million years that you would be interested in shorting here. If you break down, then so be it. It is what it is. But would not be interested in a short here. I would be interested in reclaim of the lows and looking for a long position. And just a 3-wave structure. This was only a scalp to sweep up the last lower highs. You had a, you know, big high volume node from this consolidation right over here. So it was only a scalp. I did hold about 10% of that trade and managed to make a little bit more profits. But, you know, this ultimately was not my, it wasn't my swing trade position, but this is a trade that I should have been making more because the idea of hitting all-time high on Ethereum was definitely there. However, the timing was not as good. You know, I did strongly believe I don't want to be involved on the Fed Chair Powell speech. You know, there is the potential of forming a larger 3-wave structure just because we had 5 waves move to the upside here. And I thought, you know, we're probably going to arrange for a little bit longer and there will be a better opportunity later on. I was wrong. You know, the news came out and boom, bang, you know, we went to the upside. So I just got stuck with that small little backtest technical trade, which was literally a failed auction backtest of the order block. Nothing too special, a very easy to execute trade. And it was like my main only trade from last week, which is still, I mean, it's still okay. $4,000 profit. It should have made more from this move, but it is what it is, right? You know, you can't get into every single trade, right? It's just you're gonna miss some. You're gonna get stopped out. You cannot get into every single perfect trade, and it is what it is. And it was a good execution. Good execution. Good technically. Looking for at least a 3-wave move up, which is a, you know, 3-4% of a move. And then eventually, you know, if I miss the long, I don't want to miss the short. And yeah, I missed the long, but I did not miss the short. This is why, you know, I managed to get into the failed auction yesterday. And had trigger orders beneath the all-time high because I knew if we do reject from here, we're likely going to pull back down. So this did play out very, very nicely for the moment. Just a 5% move for the moment. Nothing too... I wish it would go down another extra 5%. So that would be... I know it's possible, but I also know we're in a bull market and Ethereum is very bullish. And if Bitcoin gets the bounce, Ethereum is likely going to get the bounce. And the main theory about this, there needs to be an explanation behind every trade. Not, I mean, it's a failed auction from all-time high. You break out, you close a 4-hourly, hourly candle, but then the 4-hourly closes below. Then eventually it's a failed breakout automatically. And purely based of, forming a 5-wave move to the upside here. And this could be a double zigzag. And this also could be counted as a zigzag. Okay. Inside of this wave, you do have 5 waves, which can be counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's what you want to see in a C wave. You want to see 5 waves. There was the potential of A, B, C. And I'm thinking this is probably going to top out at the $5,000 or maybe miss it and get that rejection of a few $100s. If it is going to be an A, B, C, I'm looking for a flat or a running flat. We've already hit the target zone for running flat. So, profits had to be taken. But it has the potential eventually of being a regular flat, which is actually coming down to the lows of Wednesday at 4,100. So it's like, you need to leave a chunk open to give that potential. But I'm skeptical right now, based on Bitcoin has high probability in bouncing here. So if Bitcoin does have high probability in bouncing in this zone, then eventually it will help rise Ethereum eventually, right? Bitcoin is king, so it will help Ethereum to rise. I would actually prefer Bitcoin to roll over from here and break down, because it will drag Ethereum down. And I am betting on the possibility that this could be a flat, because we formed a 5-wave move up, and I mean there is a double zigzag here and a zigzag up possibility. So sometimes you need to, if I miss the long, I don't want to miss the short. And if we were, the best long for Ethereum, which it might not happen, would eventually come down and sweep up these lows. If we were to roll down on Ethereum here, this eventually would be the best long position. We're still bullish. It would just be a liquidity. I would just treat it as a liquidity grab. And if the price does give me this opportunity, which I don't know if it's going to happen, guys, it could be a running flat. It could be another wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're breaking out in the next coming days. There's several options here. And as there's several options, if the price does choose to do this option, then the best long eventually would be a swing failure pattern from these lows, looking at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ABC flat, and then then we're looking to bounce here only if we do create the swing failure pattern and we reclaim. Because I know a lot of people would think you said that we are going to bounce from here. No. Only if we do swing failure. This is not your level to long. This is not your zone to enter the long, even though there's a lot of people that are cheeky and they want to long the exact top. My entries are mainly below the failed breakout. They are below the failed breakout. They are in the rejection most of the times. I did get into a smaller position here, and then I triggered some orders to catch the orders on the rejection, which played out nicely in the end. It's a risk that I was willing to take. But that's the thing. Lots of people want to try and catch the ultimate low, and then sometimes the price maybe would break down, right? So your long entry, technically speaking, your long entry is here. Your long entry here is here, because that's where you put your stop loss beneath a failed breakout. If it is going to be a failed breakout, then you're looking for that recovery, which was, the long trade that I got in here. Failed breakout from the big order block, and then you back tested it as support. And you're just looking for a 3-wave move up at a bare minimum to hit at least above the 1-to-1 extension, most commonly. And that's going with Fibonacci extension. When you're looking for a 3-wave move, we're looking at pivot low, pivot high to the pivot low. 1-to-1 to the 1-2-3-6 is generally where you're going to push out and hit.
So that was only a scalp, which was this one right over here that was explained in the Legends Pro community, right? The back test of these lows, enter here, look for the push up. And I mean, most of the profits were taken on that move from Wednesday to Thursday. So anyway, let me know, guys. There's no major, the setup was given at the beginning of the stream. I am leaning that there is a chance of rallying throughout the next coming days to at least 113.5k in my opinion. And if the price does really push up and starts gaining some steam, we have the potential to actually hit 117,000, the highs of Friday, in the next coming days. Fill the CME gap. I think it does have the potential. And we had the best entry on stream on a double bottom for that potential rally that could happen in the coming days. How nice is that? How nice is that? Epic entry, epic stop loss, epic projection to the upside, free trade that you can have for the next coming days. Just make sure to pay a little bit of yourself right there. And I can see some people on the stream entering that long trade setup. So yeah. Snowboarding, let's go. Good afternoon, everyone. Andy, much love. Have a nice afternoon. You too, Snowboarding World. Much love to you, brother. What do you think about XRP? I think XRP has the last rally of the bull run, guys. Anybody that's an XRP lover, I think the last rally of the bull run is basically on the formation here. I mean, we need another chart with more data, preferably. This is on the logarithmic. Yeah, I think XRP is literally inside of the fifth wave. Very, very likely, as this movement down is very corrective. You can see it, guys. We are forming some kind of a pennant or some, worst case scenario on this is that you sweep the local lows, in my opinion. I mean, an ABC flat would be horrendous. There is the possibility, as you have a three-wave move up and a corrective structure down, it would be horrendous if it were to roll down. I mean, that would be absolutely epic. Would really get lots of people off guard. And obviously lots of the other, if that happens, it's because Bitcoin's dumping aggressively. But it's bullish structure still. And the good thing about low probability of that happening, why would there be low probability at the moment for the price to form a wave, three wave in a B, take out the highs, and now you're looking for a five wave move to the downside? Well, because this movement down looks very, very corrective for the moment. Very, very corrective structure. I mean, there is a possible five waver here. There is a possible five waver, even though your second wave did almost take out the high here. Oof. There is a possibility of a five waver here. Almost took out. Yeah, I mean, it is possible. Five wave down, three wave up. However, there's a big fat mess here. Hitting the 0.88 Fibonacci. 0.88 Fibonacci, 0.88 Fibonacci. Very rare for wave twos. It just looks like that we could be in a big, gigantic triangle structure. You can count this as a WXY, double zigzag. There is a flat here in the middle potential. Right, there is a bounce, low, high, zigzag. There is a zigzaggy move here, which can give you a zigzag, zigzag, zigzag down. It could be a double zigzag. Could be a three-wave structure. Three-wave up. This bouncing to almost the highs. 0.88 Fibonacci. Very rare for wave twos to hit the 0.88. It could be a bullish triangle, right? It just could be the formation of a bullish triangle. A, B, C, D, E. Yeah, maybe it forms a higher low in this region already. Triangles are also common for wave 4s. So yeah, you could be on a, I mean, this would be a little bit long, really. They're not possible for a wave 2. So if it were to be a wave 4, you're just looking for your last leg up to hit all-time high here on XRP, maybe get above $4. But these crazy price targets on XRP, this is the moment. If you have XRP and you've been buying XRP for the last few years, this is not a bad zone to start thinking to take profits. If you get another high, if you get another all-time high, take it as a gift. Take it as a gift and run. I mean, that's what I would do anyway. There's some crazy targets of, $10 and $20. When you're waiting for higher, guys, you know what happens. I would scale out for sure as you hit all-time highs. Scale out, sell 20%, 30%. It doesn't look like that it's, gaining power here. The big move already happened. End of 2024. And I'm not sure if there's, going to be enough steam to get bigger moves up unless you have an extension. Wave 5 here. This could be a WXY. And you have a 1-2-1-2. You break out in a third. 4 and 5, then you top out. But $4-5 for me would be, max target on XRP. I wouldn't be, I know XRP people might be just leaving the stream right now saying, you have no idea XRP is going to $40. Link looking strong, Andy, to have been holding for 2 cycles, learning how imperative it is to pay yourself. Nonetheless, these last few weeks have been Christmas. Chainlink, I do believe that it's going to be hitting above $30 at least, okay? It looks very, very bullish. The momentum that we've had are very strongly impulsive. They do look very impulsive. All of these movements to the upside that we've had, they look very strongly impulsive. And, we either forming another 1-2, even though this has extended pretty much, or we've actually forming, your wave 4, your wave 5, right? 4 and 5. And best case scenario is that you form another 1-2 here and then you absolutely explode throughout the end of the year. But taking out this high is highly likely, okay? Just because of this movement to the downside and the rallies that we are getting here to the upside, which are looking very impulsive. They're looking very, very impulsive. So I am going to be selling over 20% of my Chainlink holdings as soon as we get above $30, guys. As soon as we get above $30, I'm going to get out with at least 20% of my holdings. I'm going to get my money back and a bit of profits. And we'll leave a moon bag. It depends on the breakout, guys, because if we do break out and, we have a solid rejection with very high volume, I'm going to get out on the bounce. In the bounce, I'm going to sell another, 20-25% or so. If the rejection is powerful in a 5-wave impulse and it has very high volume compared to the rejections that we've had, we want to see high volume on the impulsive moves, preferably. And if we do get increased amount of volume on some rejections here, then the bounce, whatever dead cat bounce happens, you're always going to get a dead cat bounce on the rejection. If it is very corrective with a low volume, the bounce, I'm getting out. I'm getting out with at least 30-40%, right? I'll leave always something open. But we need more information on the chart eventually. Bitcoin getting that nice double bottom, guys. It is trying to bounce to higher levels. Whoever got into that long trade, already bouncing over $1,500. Nice little scalp day trade. make sure to pay yourself, leave some open. If anybody catches the double bottom, this happened on stream. Absolutely wonderful, guys. A lot of people did say that they did get into that long position. If you didn't get into the long, maybe you don't have an exchange. We got some great exchanges down below, guys. We do have Bluffin. There is Weeks as well. They are both great platforms. Okay, you got the best deals down below. $1,000 position on Ethereum when you sign up to Weeks, guys. And Bluffin, you get 10% cashback. You deposit $10,000, you're getting $1,000. You deposit $30,000, you're getting $3,000 on top of that. And there's also VIP perks to decrease your fees, guys. You got the second link for Bluffin, or the second or fourth link for Weeks. They are great platforms. They only require an email and a password, legends. Make sure to collect those perks that you do have on these exchanges. Chainlink looking bullish. Phantom, stop smoking them socks. It's making the XRP army delusional. On Weeks, I caught that BTC 150x on Weeks. I mean, if you want to be using very high leverage, eventually swing failure patterns are the best option. Swing double bottom, double tops, swing failure patterns, liquidity grabs, if you wish to call them like that. They are the best to get into with 100x leverage, 200x leverage. Leverage doesn't matter, it's a tool. But if you want to maximize that movement that has the potential, right, of moving, several $1,000s in the case of Bitcoin, you can be risking, right, say $10. I've got $10 as a stop loss here. And if you catch that liquidity grab that has the potential, as we were discussing on the analysis today, to really rally, a significant chunk, I mean, you can turn those $10 into 150 maybe, right? If it's a 15-to-1 risk to reward. Right? I'm just talking for the people that, maybe don't have too much to risk. You can risk a spaghetti bolognese, which is going to cost you 10 euros, well, maybe 15, depending where you live. And then you can have 10 maybe, right? It all depends on your risk management, how much you can afford to risk, guys, okay? Make sure to manage your risk. But 100x, 150x, they do come good when you have a good risk to reward, and swing failure patterns, without a doubt, are the best to use high leverage, okay? They are the best. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. Let's all short XRP. I mean, we're still in bull market. Make sure to short where you have some probabilities in your favor. I was in a loss, guys, yesterday, a little bit on the short on Ethereum. I just like to troll the army, says Pac-Man. I know you do. I married Luna, number 3 by market cap, rode it to 0. Terra Luna, guys, was one of the most devastating collapses that we have seen in crypto. Right? Terra Luna. I mean, is it still Luna? I mean, I know they rebrand. They did like Terra Luna 2.0 or something like that. There it is. There it is. That's the classic Terra Luna, guys. Here it is on the chart. Isn't it amazing? I know a lot of people lost a lot of money on this. I actually do know people that had quite a lot of money inside of the Luna ecosystem. And actually having UST, which is the stable coin inside of the Terra Luna ecosystem, which eventually disappeared and crumbled up as well. Holy moly, guys. Some people really believed in this project very much. And this was in the top 10 market cap. It was one of the, a lot of people hyping this. Maybe your favorite influencer did talk about this in the past. And, I never bought Terra Luna. I did buy on the drop just for entertainment purposes. I think I bought at $1 or something. And it was like, what if it's a flash crash, right? I think it was just for entertainment purposes. He actually bought $500, I think. That went in the bin just for, I remember I was in a group with the moderators. I'm going to buy $100, $200. What if it bounces? Yeah. It went to zero basically. And it's just been stuck there for many years. It doesn't look like this is going nowhere, guys, anytime soon. Doesn't look like it's a failed project. Anyway, it was entertaining anyway to see that. I remember that crash. I remember. Lost big, says Teddy Blank. Yeah. Never get married, bruv. Exactly. I mean, you always have a favorite crypto. My portfolio on altcoins, I hold 11% of my net worth, basically, in Chainlink. So, yeah. I mean, you eventually want to have more percentage in Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I do have more on Chainlink. And this is why I'm going to start getting out, guys. I got too much invested in that project. I do see massive utility eventually, and the tokenomics are not the greatest, if I'm honest with you. They're not the greatest, but they are definitely leading the game in the Oracle space. Bring real world data, verifiable inside of the blockchain. They're definitely leading the way. I've had enough, guys. I've had enough of holding this. I've had enough. I'm going to start getting out above $30. Imagine not getting to $30 and rolling down from here. I don't think so. Everything looks good. Everything's poised to get above $30 at least, based on the analysis. Let's see. I lost $12,000 on Luna, Mr. Umai. Yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. That guy still has his Luna tattoo. Who has a Luna tattoo? That is the future BTC chart. Andy, why are you always ignoring Ton? Why am I always ignoring Ton? Ton is the Telegram, right? Project. I don't know. I don't know. There's many that I'm ignoring, guys. There's thousands of crypto projects. I just hold the ones that 80% of my portfolio is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Chainlink. Obviously, Bitcoin being almost 60%. And then I have a big 20% of over 20 altcoins that are, diversified. ICP is one of them that I'm going big this time. And for the moment, it's not showing love. I haven't done my research on Ton. We are at support. We are at good support. The rally that we had throughout the last few years does look pretty okay. It does look pretty okay. We are just revisiting here a big level of, support, resistance support flip, which is acting very good. What can I say? Maybe this one is going to be good. I haven't done any research on the project. Luna is likely only around as a result of how infamously horrific it was. I know. Can you look at Trump coin? Do we really want to take a look at these coins, guys? Do we really? What can we say about Trump coin? It's coming back down. Disbelief rally. I don't know, guys. These are the kind of coins that they might just, 95 of the crypto charts, how they are, guys. They really just crumble down. If a good altcoin season does come, everything will rise, okay? The tide will rise, everything. No matter how crappy the coin is, it will rise even a little bit. What can I say about this one? It is about to revisit. If you want to trade it, we already created that swing failure pattern and got a little bounce from that pivot low. So swing failure patterns from the low, or trading a lower high from the last pivot high is your best option in a downtrend. Swing failure pattern, or look to trade the last lower high, golden pocket, to the 7/8 Fibonacci. There's nothing to talk about this one. And what can I say? Nothing that we can really break down. What a major, look at this. Swing failure pattern from the lows. Bounce back up to the point of control where it got rejected. So you can get out and maybe look for a short. And, you know, it might swing failure pattern from the low right now. You are back testing that pivot. Could it form a higher low? Well, there is some risk here, but you are getting the reaction from that low. I would rather prefer wick the low and then look for the long. This is only for local scalping and trading. I wouldn't treat this coin as an investment. Nothing much to say about this coin, guys. I love it, says Teddy. Much love to you, brother. Can you check out Pudgy Penguin and Cat with Hat? Is that Pengu? Is that Pengu? Is this the one? Pengu? Pengu had an awesome rally here. Insane, massive rally. It does look like that Pengu is... Oh, my goodness. What an epic. Same thing as Ethereum here, guys, just last week. Same thing as Ethereum. When you do have such a massive order block on the higher time frame, a big consolidation range after a major rally, your lows, the lows of this zone becomes such an epic, either this one or this one, such an epic by the level. It just, if we were to break down from here to revisit the lows, I'm not going to do some Elliott wave count on this right now, but there is the potential of forming a zigzag move here and another zigzag down. There is. If you missed out on this pivot of this big pump and consolidation, which happened last week, then this does look quite corrective. I would, you know, if we do come down, I would set some alerts. I'm going to set some alerts myself because I wouldn't want to miss this. If you were to come down to the lows here, I would be definitely, I'm setting alerts myself, guys, to trade this coin. You are moving in a very, very corrective way. The fact that you've bounced here to hit the 0.88 Fibonacci from all-time high on Pengu, I'm not sure if it is all-time high actually, but from this high is looking very good. And if you want a very easy setup, when you have a big range and you have one or two pivot higher lows of that range after a big massive rally, they become very good support liquidity grabs, because it's basically where people have their stop losses and they just tap the stop and they, you know, get a recovery. So it does look corrective. The movement up looks incredibly strong. Pengu is going to participate in the altcoin season. The question is, will we manage to create another low? We have retraced here significantly. I would be a little bit cautious entering into September. Ethereum could pull back in the next coming weeks. Bitcoin also on the higher time frame in the next coming weeks does look like it has high potential to get down to the mid 100k levels. And eventually, if Ethereum is going to be rangy, maybe go slightly to the downside, you're likely going to see some altcoins pulling back a little bit more. And you just need to be ready for the best technical targets. In the case of Pengu, it is those higher lows from the second week of July. I've set some alerts because I would be willing to get into one of these swing failure patterns. If you miss this one, then the next one would be your best option, which is sitting at 0.027 cents. This does look very corrective, so it is primed, in my opinion, to rally to hit all-time high. Probabilities are higher to come up to all-time high at some stage. The question is, with Ethereum and Bitcoin, with the potential of going to slightly lower levels, eventually you would expect some of these altcoins to reach out the lows possibly again. And there is one possible count here where you do have a zigzag move up, also the three-wave move to the upside here. And this could have been your first one. This is your first big major bounce. So, there is the chance of actually coming down to this low and then getting the swing failure pattern, form a double zigzag situation here. So it looks good, interesting area. I know Pengu can be traded on Bluffin and weeks, guys. Remember to check out the bonuses that you do get, okay? Down below in the description, there's Bluffin, there's weeks. Bluffin, 10% cashback, guys. You just need an email and a password. You can trade Pengu or whatever altcoin you want. Bluffin has most of them. They are one of the fastest exchanges in getting all of these different meme coins and cryptos. So claim those bonuses on Bluffin with the link down below. Not much more, guys. We need more information. Whoever got into that double bottom on Bitcoin, congratulations. Make sure to pay yourself. There is potential of going higher. Beautiful entry, double bottom. It's worth holding some of this position, guys. Maybe 30%, 50%. You get the deal, right? You can choose what you want to hold. Make sure to pay yourself. It is a nice little bounce that we got already. Free trade. If we do manage to rally to 113, 14, make sure to pay yourself as we go to the upside. Legends, thank you very much. If you want more updates every single day, you have the Legends Pro or the Premium Telegram, which you can get more information joining the free Telegram down below. And here you get posts every single day, free information on news, higher time frame charts, okay? It's also great free information that you do get in the Telegram. Legends, thank you. Pac-Man, thank you. Whoever got into that double bottom long on the lower time frame, absolutely epic, guys. Was the easiest trade that was here today. Thank you, everyone. Staffer1, Pac-Man, Snowboarding World, Wes, Petter. Much love to everybody, okay? I'll see you tomorrow.